tonight to let everyone know that this meeting will be happening on September 20th, and we need you all to turn up for it and have your voices heard. It's very important. I know the council will be there, and so I hope I see you all there as well.
Okay, I agree with all that has been said. And of course, once again, it's a reminder that it will be at the Board of Supervisors Auditorium on Tuesday, September 20th at 6 p.m. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 6B, letter of support to create an irrigation non-expansive area for Wallapai Basin Aquifer. The Arizona Department of Water Resources has scheduled a public hearing in the Board of Supervisors Auditorium for Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 at 6 p.m. The public hearing will allow for council and staff to provide testimony. This letter will serve as the City Council's formal request for the creation of an irrigation non-expansion area for the Wallapai Basin Aquifer. Staff recommends approval. As far as public comment and discussion, I think we have one here tonight for that. Clerk Annie, who is that?
Jem Morgaine.
Jem Morgaine. Okay. Ms. Morgaine, if you'd like to come forward, please.
Thank you. My name is Jem Morgaine. I am a Kingman resident, but I'm also the executive director of Real Change PAC, a nonpartisan, issue-focused PAC. And water sustainability is one of our prime issues of advocacy. I personally have been fighting this water issue for many, many years, but I'm going to keep this simple tonight. We're here to urge this council to please vote no support for the irrigation non-expansion area and press Mojave County to request an AMA rather than an INA. If you don't believe my words, I'm going to play a 30-second clip from Supervisor Lingenfelter. These were his responses after Tim Walsh gave the presentation about the water flow and the gravity of the situation.
But, you know, it just doesn't make any sense outside the active management areas to have somebody that doesn't have to go through a planning and zoning process. Then they can drill as many wells as they want, as large as they want. They can pump as much water as they want. They don't have to meter it, and they don't have to report it to anybody about how much they use. That's insanity. We have to get some new rural water protections for Arizona. It's not just Mojave County.
So he goes on and talks about that, but I call this Lingenfelter's lament. Every single issue he addresses there is not addressed with an INA. That graphic that I have for you, you can see all those pieces that I've overlaid on the left. Those are the comments made by Supervisor Lingenfelter, and you can see where they're addressed and where they're not. We are long past an irrigation non-expansion area to be proactively helpful for us. The other most important part of this is not a local issue. 40, 50 years ago, I probably would have been in support of an INA, but I'm not, because the people who are coming here are corporate interests from all around the world, literally. We had Saudi Arabia corporate interests here who had depleted their water resources and they couldn't feed their cattle, so they came here to grow alfalfa and ship it back. We've got California almond growers who are coming here because the water in California has been depleted and so they're coming here. The Phoenix developers are also, they've depleted their water capacity within our state and they're coming here. These are global issues that are severely affected by global climate change. This is now the moment for us to proactively protect our water aquifer, and the INA is not enough. And it's not okay to just say, well, it's better than nothing, because it's not. It's not. So please vote no support and press for the AMA. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Morgan. Hello. In case any...
The public where
well,
there's
no. In case any of our council members, or if we have any questions.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Any questions for Mrs. Morgan?
I don't have any.
Okay.
I am curious, though, is Mr. Earnhardt here?
Earhart.
Earhart.
Unfortunately, no, he was called to Flagstaff for work-related, and he is not. We have requested multiple times to be able to meet with various council members to more specifically address this. That graphic is just the very surface overview of what is not going to be addressed with the INA.
Well, I just wanted to put into the record that you did say that you had several unanswered requests to meet with the new mayor and other council members. I never received any requests, so
Right.
I would have loved to have met and spoke with you folks. I am very concerned about water, and I am also interested in the differences between the INA and the AMA. The AMA seems to be a lot more restrictive than an INA, and I would have loved to have conversation with you. So, although you did make that statement, or whomever provided
Yes,
this,
that was me.
I didn't
And
get an
To
opportunity.
my knowledge, he did not reach out to you. I know that he reached out to Ken Watkins, the mayor, and Keith Walker.
Okay.
So.
Because I do sit on the Water Sustainability Task Force for the City of Kingman, and I listen to those meetings and what we're trying to do to get a plan in place, and I really would have liked the opportunity. So I just want to put that into the record. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I also, I was checking my emails, and I know Jack and I talked in person and on the phone that we needed to get together and talk, but I don't remember seeing an email, but I'm going to check my emails
He
again.
he has sent a couple.
So, I will
And
do that.
we've been attempting over several weeks. I let Jack take lead because he has the relationships with those particular where I don't have, I don't know either of you personally. But yes, it's not enough.
Okay. You know, I know you have it in your chart here explaining the differences between an AMA and an INA.
So that's not my chart, that's directly downloaded from the Arizona Department
Okay.
of Water Resources.
ADWR, okay.
The link at the top, you can go to that site and download that directly yourself, and that's exactly, with the exception of the added corrective information, and of course Supervisor Lingenfelter's comments would not be on the ADWR graphic.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Do have another question. Will Mr. Earhart be at the water meeting,
Yes.
To speak
we
in
will
favor-
both be there, yes,
or not in favor of INAs, but he will have comments about AMAs?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a request from Councilwoman? Would you please, I think that's a great idea.
I'd like to, if we can, hear from staff, maybe Rob Owen, on the staff's position on why we're being asked to support an INA versus an AMA.
Manager Foggen, we'll pick on you.
Well, we're not prepared to present anything tonight. I don't know if Rob, how much study Rob's done on this, and he's virtual, yeah. So, I mean, I don't think one precludes the other. What I would say is, great, look at it, you can look at the one, you have the INA that the AWR is willing to, the director's willing to look at, and if there's enough public support put into place, that does not preclude or keep you from being able to do a citizen petition for an AMA. Rob, do you have anything to add?
There he is.
No, not a whole lot, sir. An AMA is targeted towards all water users in a basin, where the INA specifically is dealing with irrigation. And there are quite a few differences. I don't think that one would necessarily preclude the other, or moving from one to another would be something that could not happen. But I think these are all things that we can discuss with the Department of Water Resources and Mojave County and our other partners, on this front.
Is there an opportunity to include in the letter that we, as a city, would like to see more restrictions like the AMA? I mean, in one letter, can we say,
I wouldn't recommend it
okay,
because this hearing's on the INA directly.
Right.
And the director of DWR has the authority to take public comment and create an INA. I do not think that confusing those two matters would help your argument for an INA.
I think this is a tough situation when this is right around the corner. This is
Yeah.
the last meeting we have before we can
Yeah.
say yay or nay, and we
Yep.
don't have a solid ground to stand on which one we would prefer as a council. So it almost feels like a missed opportunity, but unfortunately, I feel like saying no to the IRNA says that we don't support any sort of groundwater regulation, even though we would love to have a situation where our water is protected for generations to come.
May I address the response about the citizen
This is not a
initiative?
debate.
I think, let me make a comment too. As I think Manager Foggin mentioned, this specific hearing is to consider an INA only. I think if we come out in strength supporting an INA, but then have more people there saying we'd really like to push towards an AMA. In other words, I think at this point in time, it might be easier to get the win for an INA to start with. I don't know if we can get the AMA. Is that sort of, I'm sort of understanding, Ron?
Well, we have not, I'll be honest, we've not done a lot of research into AMA.
Okay.
I mean, that's the honest.
I have heard that AMAs are harder to attain as opposed to an INA.
They're extremely difficult with a
So-
lot of moving parts and a lot of rules.
And once again, this hearing is being called specifically for an INA. So that is the tough part. We might offend him, or they might just shut us off completely if we were to bring up AMA at this point in time. I think what's gonna make volumes of a statement is the fact that if we show up in force with a lot of people here from Kingman and the surrounding area supporting that we want something done.
I appreciate your comments. I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
But that is the will of the council.
Okay?
Can I just make a comment?
Yes,
To
Councilwoman Samali.
Councilmember Staley's comment, not to confuse the matter and say INA and AMA, could we put a clause in the letter that says an INA or other water sustainability options for our area? I mean, just leaving the door a little open, because I'm with Councilmember Staley. I don't know how I feel about an INA versus an AMA, and I'm really sad that I didn't get to meet with you guys. So I can't compare the two. So it's the timing is off for me.
An AMA is just not on the table. I mean, that's not what DWR is offering, and there's not a citizen petition that's in place to ask to require a vote of the people for an AMA. I mean, there's a lot of work that has gone in to water legislation the last 4 years, and we've tried to get a number of pieces of legislation passed without success. And having the director of DWR show up with at least, I don't want to say olive branch, but an opportunity to keep this conversation going, because Representative Cobb worked this deal for 4, 5, 6 years now, and we no longer have her. And she ran into roadblock after roadblock. So the fact that we're to this point is I don't want to say light years ahead of where we were, but we're light years ahead of where we were. And having the Department of Water Resources willing to come and hold a public hearing on this is important. And and frankly, again, it doesn't close any doors. It doesn't stop us from moving forward with additional legislation. It just gives us a foothold in, and I don't see that we're hurting ourselves by getting an INA. I don't think anybody's going to say, well, you got an INA and you should be happy about that. So, I mean, that, I'm not debating, we just have not had an opportunity to research. I can't sit here and tell you that we should do an AMA. I can't sit here and tell you shouldn't do one. That hasn't been on the table.
Mayor.
Mr. Foggen, if I may add, just
Yes, Mr.
I
Owen.
think the rationale for proposing with the INA to start with is that agricultural irrigation is our priority threat right now. You know, Kingman Water System water users are among the most water efficient in the whole state of Arizona. Kingman hasn't been recruiting large industrial water users. Our recruitment for the industrial park, other areas, specifically targets non-large water users on the industrial side. So I don't think there's anything to say that, you know, that might not change in the future, and maybe that evolves. But as far as the immediate threat to our basin, it is agricultural irrigation, and I think that's what an INA would help us address. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
I have one more.
And yes,
Just
Councilwoman.
one more comment, sort of in line with what you had said, Mr. Foggen, is we were at the league conference last week. I had the opportunity to speak to different state legislators, some incoming, some outgoing, our lobbyists. It doesn't sound like we have a good chance in the next couple of years of getting legislation passed. It kind of sounds like nobody knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years. There just isn't a lot of stability. And it doesn't sound like we're going to have a lot of people that are going to advocate for Mojave County or for Kingman's Water, not Mojave County, because that's a whole another issue. So I appreciate your passion for this item, and I am sorry. I know that what you're asking for, and I don't think we're going to be able to give that to you tonight. I have to agree. They're allowing a conversation about INAs. The agriculture is one of our biggest threats right now, and I know you said it, but I do feel like at least this is one small win for our water, but we're just gonna have to keep fighting afterwards. So it isn't a perfect answer, and I wish it was.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Morgan, thank you too for your comments. And all the comments that have been said, we appreciate it. I think this is a step, as has been pointed out, in the right direction and moving in that direction. And then hopefully we can expand that sphere even more. So, okay, we would entertain then a motion to approve item 6B, letter of support to create an INA.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes.